If Headkrack were president, what would he do right now to deal with everything that's going on? What would you do?
First things first, I would make it mandatory that all guns would have to have chips on them. Same chips that we got on our phones so people know where we at all times. I feel like these guns need to be chipped and tracked. You know, gun control is always a popular hot button topic. Oh, you ain't gonna take my guns. Okay, yeah, I get it. We're not gonna take your guns. And there's some knuckleheads out there. Maybe you need the gap to protect yourself in the crib. But as far as your gun leaving the crib, don't really necessarily think it's necessary. And like some people be like, hey, well, if everybody had guns and the right to carry, there would be less things popping off. It's not like when a shootout or an incident happens, niggas put on team jerseys and start clapping. You know, when shit's popping off, you don't know who's who and what's going on. So I really feel like a lot of time guns should not be allowed to leave the crib. And if they do, they're chipped. So if a crime happens, we know who had it and we know who the joint is registered to, and then we're good. So that's that on that. Next thing, I would also recommend that for the next 400 years, just to level the economical and educational playing field, college needs to be free for everybody. The books, you can PDF the books. Everything is cheap. Everything's online these days. Make the teachers and professors government employees so they're getting their money that way. Why should everybody have to pay so much money to be better versions of themselves so they can improve society? Because the banks control everything. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? If the government really truly had control over what was going on during this whole Corona lockdown, bro, the banks wouldn't be able to, like, you know, move and do nothing because, like, hey, we're going through something. You can't force people to go back to work at the rate of dying, or you can't you can't make this business or this person get out of their crib because they can't afford to pay you, because we're going through some shit right now. Banks be the first ones to stun at the end of the year, be like, yo, we made $9 trillion in overdraft fees.
Overdraft fees.
We need your help now, banks.
Of course, but that's not what it's about, though. Man, that's an excellent point, man, and that's an excellent point. I'd vote for you based on what you said. I mean, look who we got coming between. You know what I mean? We're keeping it real. Like, it's bigger than music and stuff and hip hop. I mean, this is like the world we're talking about. You got Trump and you got Biden. I mean,
yeah, it's like you're voting for the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, somebody said it's like voting between like a jammed up printer and a dial-up internet tone or something. What's the choice? You know what I mean? Like, so anything else for president?
I mean, let's see. You know, so the education, the education thing, also the whole like housing thing. New York is out of control. LA is out of control. There's no reason why these cribs should cost what they cost. There needs to be some sort of thing going on to where we hit the reset button and make the cost of living affordable in a lot of these places, because it doesn't really make sense. I don't necessarily know how to do that, but I also know like but I also know that the you know, they get money from taxpayers in so many other ways on the East Coast, whether it be because of them high ass tolls or them just ridiculous fees that they charge for
nothing,
everything. You know, they charge up for everything. It's not like New York City is broke. Like, they need to figure out a way to, like, you know, like, make the cost of living more affordable when the East and a lot of these major cities. Like, sometimes I just drive around places I don't live in when I'm like in other cities, and I just like ride around and just punch in addresses on Zillow just to wrap my brain around what things cost. Like, I saw a $1 million house in LA that wasn't nicer than an apartment that I lived in Yonkers. But there's somebody's gonna break their neck to pay it.
Of course.
It is ridiculous.
We were just out in Oakland last year, and Oakland's hood, but like we were right, you know, near the water. And I just let me see what some of these like apartments going for. $800-900, you know, for like a closet, you know. So it's, you know, it's the housing shit's fucked up too. Police brutality.
Yeah.
I'm scratching my head on this one, man. I mean, I'm really at a loss, particularly when I thought once things started being filmed more, that that there would be more consequences.
Right.
But you know, because it's like, hey, this guy just got, you know, and it's nothing. So, what are your thoughts on that? Because that really has me bugged out.
I mean, I really truly feel that if you're a police officer, you get caught breaking the law, you actually should do the double the time that a civilian would get for the same infraction, because you're held at a higher regard and a higher standard.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's, you know, you of all people know that you can't do the things that you're doing because
Right.
you're here to enforce the law. So if I was to get, and there's a sliding scale on what people get for certain things. I feel like, you know, all crimes should get the same time. So because I know people who got bodies who got out in 3 or 4 years. I also know people that got bodies that are doing 20 to life. And only difference was they had money to pay for a better lawyer.
Of course.
You know what I mean? You shouldn't be able to buy your way out of situations because, once again, it makes it a classism thing. Right. Not a black or white thing, a classism thing.
Right.
And that's what a lot of these things boil down to. So, I mean, to answer your question, yeah, these police officers need to be prosecuted, and maybe there needs to be a whole new branch brought in. Because, you know, people are saying, hey, defund the police. That doesn't 100% work. Because if you do that 100%,
I don't want the police 100%.
Exactly.
I'm afraid gonna fucking lie, yo.
Yo, there's gonna be a whole bunch of like teenage me's running around trying to figure out how to, like, you know, take over the city on some crime wave shit. You know what I mean? So it's not, that's not 100% what you want. You know what I mean? You want protection, because if someone, like, if I hear strange noise in the middle of my house right now, yeah, I'm calling the cops too. I mean, I have a gun, but I'm also calling the cops. So nah, you can't defund them, but maybe there has, you know, the same way you have the Army, you have the Marines, the Navy, the National Guard. We need to bring in some new force. I don't know what it looks like, but I know they need to have more police training than our actual police, and they need to have to do way more hours. Like, I saw a bunch of stats and I looked it up just to make sure it wasn't some shit I just saw on the internet, but it said that, like, yo, it requires like 800 hours per se to be a police officer and 1,500 hours to be a barber. It needs to be flip-flops.
Yes.